Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. This morning, I want us to shift gears to matters leadership and integrity in public service. The theme we're looking at this morning is public sector culture and ethical leadership. And we're doing this with Jeremiah Karanja, FCS Jeremiah Karanja. That is the CEO at ICS, and ICS is the Institute of Certified Secretaries. To have this conversation on leadership and integrity in public service, we do welcome you to be part of this conversation on our socials. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 Digital. You can tag me as well at @_did, and we'll be sure to read your feedback and sample your comments as we continue with this conversation right here in studio. Karibu sana to TV47. This is Morning Cafe.
Thank you, Anne.
You're well?
Very well.
First of all, happy Customer Service Week.
Thank you.
What are you doing at ICS to celebrate Customer Service Week?
At ICS, we are making our members and stakeholders happy. You should visit us.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. So tell us about ICS, the Institute of Certified Secretaries. Aside from, of course, I know you're under the National Treasury, what exactly is your mandate?
Thank you. The Institute of Certified Secretaries is a statutory professional body. By statutory, I mean it's created under an Act of Parliament, Cap 534 of the laws of Kenya, and our mandate is to promote good governance. If you look in this country, we have various professional bodies that deal with various issues. Some deal with issues law, others issues accounts, finance, HR, procurement. ICS in specific deals with matters governance, and therefore anything you may think of as an institution, whether you're talking of boards development, issues of culture change as an institution, and such related matters that deal with leadership and governance of institution, ICS is the institution to talk to. Yes.
All right. And I should have started with this, FCS. I know the CS is Certified Secretaries. What is the F?
F means fellow. That is the highest rank that you can get as a member of the institute, which is normally awarded for contribution, significant contribution you have given to the profession and to the society at large. Yes, so it's a recognition by the council of the institute.
All right.
Yes.
So being that you oversee governance across the country, how would you rate the state of governance in this country?
First, let me start by saying that as a country, I know we have a number of governance challenges, but sometimes in life, unfortunately, most of us choose to look at the half-empty cup. There are also significant strides that have been made in terms of promotion of good governance. If you go across Africa, is actually when you will appreciate that as a country, we have made significant strides in terms of promotion of good governance, and especially governance of institutions. Once in a while, when we are running programs here in Kenya and outside the country in the region, and some of participants attend our programs from across the region, and they are sometimes amazed at what we have here as a country in terms of governance, whether it's the policies, whether it's the laws, and all that. Having said so, however, we still have challenges, because by being better than the other African country does not necessarily mean that we are where we ought to be. Because when you look at a number of issues, the issues that made the Gen Zs, for instance, to go to the streets last year and part of this year, there are quite a number of fundamental issues that still continue to pull this country behind. And therefore, yes, we have made significant strides, but we still have a long way to go in terms of achieving where we actually need to be.
What do you think is holding us back from achieving good governance? You say we are best in Africa, right? Then what is holding us back if we are not where we want to be yet, but then we are the best in Africa?
I think the answer lies in the way you've worded the topic of today's discussion, the issue of culture. We have not inculcated an ethical culture as a society. right from the grassroots in our families, to our institutions, the way we run our institutions, and even at the national level, whether you are talking of the political governance. When we go, for instance, and I want to applaud IEBC for the good work they are doing. They have invited us to go and register as voters. And even as we register as voters, we are going to register as voters, waiting for 2027 to cast our votes. But you still find the way we think, most of us as Kenyans, is still tied to some basic elemental issues of tribe and maybe given tokens by politicians, instead of choosing people on the basis of what they can actually deliver. Right now we have different political formations which are doing mobilization across the country, and they are mobilizing us in terms of our tribes. Now, until when we are able to break from that, and therefore I'm ready to look at you, not from which tribe you come from, but as an individual, what can you offer? And it's interesting, for instance, when you travel out of the country, we meet there in those other foreign countries. While you are there, we are united as Kenyans. Until we land here at JKIA, then I discover you don't belong to my tribe. Yet when we are out there, I was not relating with you as this tribe and this tribe. So those are some of the challenges that as Kenyans, even before you go to the leadership, as Kenyans, we have still not managed to move from the way we look at people, not as what they can offer, but instead we look at them from where they come from. And others look at them from who gave me how much. And therefore, even if the person I'm electing, I know very well is a thief, but they have given me 20 shillings or so, I'll still anyway elect them because you who is claiming to be a good leader, you have not given me anything. So those are some of the challenges that still continue to pull this nation back. That is at political level. At institutional level, I think despite the fact that I have said we have very good policies, for example, the Institute has supported various sectors. We have supported the government in developing a code of governance called Mwongozo, the code of governance for state corporations. We have supported groups, religious groups, including one called Sabika, to develop governance guidelines for churches. We are currently working with constitutional commissions and independent offices to develop a code of governance for that sector, and so many others that we have done. So the policy framework is there. But I think what remains is the implementation, because you have what ought to be done, but sometimes we are not very good in applying. When you talk about the legal framework, for instance, Kenya is one of the countries, especially in this region, which has most laws. We have a lot of laws, virtually on everything. But the other day we enacted one on conflict of interest. But the question is it that we have actually implemented all the previous ones, that now the gap is there? So we still have a challenge in terms of implementation and also monitoring to ensure that what we already have in place is actually being implemented.
Right. Yeah. And perhaps do you think that we as Kenyans and as the electorate have a role to play in just the promotion of poor leadership in the country? Because if you say that, if you're looking at it from a political perspective, that we as Kenyans are still voting along the tribal lines. We are still taking, kitu kidogo, so that we can put a certain leader into, position once again. So would you say that we as Kenyans have a role in the promotion of poor leadership?
Yes, because primarily leaders don't come from the moon. They come from amongst us. We are the ones who also elect them. So if it's not me who is the leader, it's you. And I become a leader by virtue of being elected by the very Kenyans. And some of the expectations that we put on our political class actually is what drives them to what they eventually do. because if I will require, for example, just giving an example, I will require, say, 10 or 50 million for me to be elected as a member of parliament. Because without that, my constituents will not elect me. So I have to get 50 million from somewhere to go and distribute mashinani. So immediately when I'm elected, the first agenda is to recover my 50 million. And even as I recover that 50 million, I also need to get more money to sustain me in that position, because every funeral I'm expected to contribute something. And I actually pity the members, the MCAs, members of county assemblies, because they are right at the grassroots. And therefore we expect every funeral they must attend. When there is a wedding, when there is whatever that is in the village, they must attend. Where do they get this money? Of course, they get that money by manipulating the governor to give them some money from wherever. Now, that money still belongs to us. It is being given to this member of county assembly at the expense of the development agenda that the governor had told us that you'll be rolling out. So that expectation that we have placed on our leaders, that we are not necessarily electing them to go and do what they need to be doing in parliament or in other elective positions, but we are electing them as cash cows. And we can even start now counting. Elections are nearing. How many times have this member of parliament attended fundraising in our constituency, so that we determine whether or not we are going to re-elect him. So now when we have such expectations, then what happens within 5 years? Our elected leaders, their only agenda is to mobilize resources. One, to recover what they had already expended during the campaign period. Number two, to sustain them during the 5 years period, because they are be required here and there to give. But number three, gather more resources for the next elections. So I would actually say our leaders only exist for purposes of winning an election. So they are busy now mobilizing resources for the next election. So until when we change that mindset as Kenyans, that we are not electing money-making machines, so to go and mint money for us in the constituency. And we are clear what is the role of an MCA, what is the role of a senator, of a member of parliament, until when we are clear as Kenyans on that. And therefore we hold them accountable for what the actual role is. That's when we can see a change in the political governance of this country.
All right. I saw something you wrote, and you were saying how sound governance principles can be used by these public institutions to enhance public delivery. Then how does that look like? What is that vision exactly? And what are these principles as well?
Yes, I have written a number of books. The most recent ones, 3 of them, specifically that I wrote this June 2025. One of them, I'm calling it Animal Farm, a farm with IRM. Animal Farm International Limited is just looking at especially institutions, the way human beings behave, just like animals in the jungle, and the human dynamics, the group dynamics within institutions. But maybe the most relevant one to this discussion is one I have written called the Home Guard Syndrome, and which in that book, it's called the Navigating Home Guard Syndrome. In that book, I argue we have covered with a friend of mine called Professor Wayne Mutuma. We have argued that just like it used to happen in the colonial era, where the freedom fighters who were busy fighting in the forest to bring change in the country, there are other people who are referred to as home guards, who were traitors, who were not there to see the change, but to ensure the status quo remain. Even today, in our institutions, we have people who are home guards, people who don't want to see real change happen in institutions. Instead, their work is to gatekeep. Their work is to ensure that we retain the status quo. And therefore, as a society, we try to move 10 steps forward, they take us back 15 steps backward. And therefore, we are not making any progress. If you look, for instance, in government, every year you have a change of government.
Right.
But you know, the government that changes is only the political governance. You have the president, the cabinet secretary, members of parliament. There is a level in government that never changes. And it also happens in institutions. An institution like this, your CEO most likely will change very often. But the rest of us who are below here will be there for quite some time. And therefore, sometimes in public sector, you have this notion, and the president alluded to it the other day when he said, there are people who are here saying, we have seen many presidents come and go. We have seen many cabinet secretaries come and go. So we have some people who are custodians of some culture. And therefore, even as we talk about change of culture in the public service, yes, it is important we start with the leadership because everything starts at the leadership. But it's also important we look at the next level of governance. And these are the people who in government, they don't change because they have been there, the civil service. And sometimes even when we are doing capacity building, and I know the government has invested a lot in terms of capacity building for leaders and all that, it is also very important the government also invests in the culture change for the next level, especially in the civil service. And as an institute, the last few years, actually that's what we have been focusing on. We have been supporting institutions in what we call organizational culture change. Because we believe the issue of ethical culture is not just a department. It's not just a signpost written on the road there that this is a corruption-free zone. But is values which are lived by the people who are there. And therefore, what we have been supporting institutions in doing is change those values and help them embrace the values that will help institutions to thrive beyond yourself as the leader. Because I'm working here in this institution because there are other people who were working before me, and they handed over this institution to me. I should also work in such a manner that the next generation will find an institution which is thriving. Yes.
All right. You mentioned something about ethical leadership, and somebody may wonder now, what does it look like in practical terms when you talk about ethical leadership? Yes.
Yes, ethical leadership is all about values. We are talking about value-driven leadership. That as a leader, whatever I'm doing, I'm not just doing for my own personal benefit. But first and foremost, my focus and interests are the interests of the organization. As I alluded earlier, we enacted an act of parliament called Conflict of Interest Act. In that Conflict of Interest Act, what actually the law is trying to deal with is whereby my interest as an individual conflicts with the interests of the organization, where instead of pursuing the best interests of the organization, as a leader, I'm pursuing my personal interest. So ethical leadership is about looking at the society at large. As in my position as a CEO Institute of Certified Secretaries, I should be focusing not on how much I benefit as an individual, how much I earn as an individual, but what is the benefit that I'm bringing to this institution. But also the stakeholders, the society at large, how are we benefiting the society at large? That is what ethical leadership is about. It is unethical. The opposite of that is that you are a leader who is unethical. You know you are an ethical leader when you think and when you plan and when you act, they are all geared towards your personal benefit at the expense of the institution. And maybe just to illustrate, because I love a good book called the Bible. That Bible, there is a book called Matthew. In Matthew chapter 25, it gives an illustration of 3 people who were given talents by their master. One was given 1 talent, the other one 2, and the other one 5. The one who was given 5, he went, invested, multiplied, and brought back 10. Similarly, the one who was given 2, invested, multiplied, brought back 4. But the one who was given 1, he went, did a lot of work because he dug a hole, put the talent there. I want to believe even guarded it, a lot of efforts, but just kept it and returned it as it was. That is what an ethical leadership is. An ethical leader is a leader who will find an institution with 1 talent. And by the time they are leaving, the institution is still having 1 talent. In fact, in Kenya, it's even worse because we find an institution with 1 talent and we still live in the 1 talent. A leader who is ethical is the one who will get 5, multiply them to be 10, multiply them to be 4. And because it's Jesus who was giving this parable, he commended the 2 leaders, the 2 servants. He told them, well done, good and faithful servants. You have been entrusted with few, you will now be entrusted with more. But to the one who was given 1 and returned 1, he called them in very difficult words, lazy, foolish, and so many other words, because he's an ethical servant. So I want to make an appeal to whether you are working in the private sector, whether you are working for a public sector institution, what you have been entrusted with, ensure 1 is not just for your personal gain, benefit from it even as you benefit the organization and the society. Multiply. If you multiply, then we can refer you as an ethical leader. Yes.
All right. And when you're talking about how leadership position changes with different political cycles, and can now this the ethical culture survive political patronage when you look at it?
Yes, it's possible, and it's possible to survive political patronage. And as I said earlier, everything starts at the leadership. So it is my role as a leader, and I give an example where I work at the Institute of Certified Secretaries. If the people I'm recruiting, the first consideration is that they are from my tribe, they are my relatives. Instead of looking at what are their qualifications, are they getting there by merit and all that, then what I'm doing, I'm just creating a choir just to be praising me, instead of bringing people who can look at issues objectively, can correct me where I'm wrong because I'm a human being, and people who can take the institutions forward even after my departure. However, unfortunately, some of us, what we do is just create some groups around ourselves because of you either have some inferiority complex or some fears and all that. So it's possible to go beyond political patronage right from the institution, even at national level. We have laws which ideally should guide this because, for example, in public sector, we are guided by very clear guidelines on how people are appointed into positions and all that. The problem is it requires what I would call the software, the will to implement, because unfortunately for laws, you always have a way you can navigate them. So it's a call for all of us to embrace an ethical culture, that software that will give us that drive to do what is right because we know what the right thing is. Yes.
And when you talk about what is right and wrong, people may argue that right and wrong is relative, right? And I've seen that argument around that sometimes there's what is good for the electorate, us as the electorate, vis-a-vis what the government think is right for the electorate. Then how do we determine or come to a common ground that, this is not good for the electorate because the electorate does not think that this is good for them, but even as much as you as the government think that that is good for the electorate? How do we strike a balance?
I don't think some of those debates are usually genuine. They are just good for philosophical arguments. They are just good for politicking. But in reality, every leader knows what the right thing is, because even when we are electing you, you came with a manifesto. And based on that, we elected you. How comes now when you get to office is when you want to debate whether it's this or that? We have laws, we have policies. In the public sector, we are guided very clearly by things like Vision 2030. We have every government of the day has a manifesto. The current government has a manifesto, and which all of us in the public sector are aware of. So it's usually very clear. But when we don't want to do what we ought to do, then we get into philosophical arguments on whether we know it, who is right, who is wrong. We have the Constitution, which has laid down these principles very clearly. We have very many laws. As I said, this country is one of the countries with most laws in this region. We have very many policies. So if actually I wanted to do the right thing, there is no, and by the way, also what we also don't know is in Kenya is also one of the countries with a lot of capacity building. We do a lot of trainings for our people. That is not the same across the region. The few countries I have traveled in, especially in this African region, that is not the same. That you can have an institution like this sponsoring you to attend a training. It is not common across the region. So it's not that we don't know. If we decide to do what is right, we know what is right. It's only that sometimes we don't decide to do the right thing.
We ignore.
Yes.
And is there a possibility that the government, in the event that the electorate expresses dissatisfaction by the way things are running in the country, that they can come back to the drawing board and sit down with people and say that, you know, we are doing 1, 2, 3, that is wrong, and we need to sit down and right our wrongs? Is there a possibility that the government of the day can come back to the drawing board and say that this is wrong?
I think, and the president, you saw the other day, he launched a program where he required all the principal secretaries to go to the ground and talk to the citizens. The government has many structures and have everywhere in this country is well represented, and there's always that continuous engagement and discussion between the electorates and the leadership. But even as we talk of government, you know, unfortunately, when we think of government, maybe we think of the president. The president is just one of the people in government. The government is huge. It includes even the teachers. It includes even the doctors. It includes very many people. And therefore, it's also an issue of what am I doing in where I am, the office which I'm serving. So if I'm not doing the right thing, then I'm here blaming the president. So is the president supposed to come to my office and do what I'm supposed to be doing? So it's also a question of taking personal responsibility. If I'm a teacher, I'm absconding classes. I'm supposed to be teaching children. I'm not in class. I'm running my personal businesses. As a doctor, employed in a public sector hospital, but instead of treating patients, I have my private clinic, and the time which I'm supposed to be in hospital, in this public sector hospital, which is paying my monthly salary, instead I'm using it for my personal private clinic. So where does the president come there? I think as a Kenyan society, and I listen and I have followed even, for instance, the debates we've had with the Gen Zs and all that, which are very healthy discussions. But I think the challenge is where people fail to take their responsibilities. And if there's an institution like this, if you are the cleaner, you are not taking your responsibility and you want to shift that to the CEO of the institution. While it is true, and I'm not absorbing the CEO from that, while it is true, we still have the responsibility of ensuring that this room is cleaned, but you as a cleaner, because you're also on a salary, what is your responsibility? I think we also need as a people to take personal responsibility and do what we ought to do. Yeah.
And when you're talking about the need for proper communication, just to restore trust, there's that issue of trust deficit. And then now, how do we decide who needs to come to the tables where there's conversations where, you know, good governorship is being held?
Yeah.
How do we decide who needs to be at the table so that everybody feels included?
Now we have a framework on what we call public participation, where, you know, government is a bureaucracy, and government works through structures and policies. And therefore, at every level, there is a structure on how you engage the citizens. And the Constitution has emphasized the issue of public participation. The unfortunate thing, I will tell you, most people, most citizens don't volunteer information during the public participation.
And some don't even know that public participation exercises are going on where they are.
Yes, because sometimes what we spend most of our time dealing with or watching, if I'm on social media, following maybe just politicians saying whatever they are saying, but that information is, by the way, normally publicized, whether it's in the dailies, whether it's in TV stations like this. And most of the people, by the way, don't fail to attend because they are not aware. Some actually expect for me to come, maybe you need to give me something. So there are a bit of challenges, and I know even from the government side, there is also a challenge on how the government needs to engage the citizens, but also on the citizens, they need to volunteer information. If you go to the website of Parliament today, there are so many bills there, which Parliament is scheduled to discuss. And all of them, the reason why they are published is for members of the public to give their input. So it is your responsibility as a citizen, as a responsible citizen. Look at what is affecting you as a citizen of this nation and give your input. The next stage where citizens are involved is also at the ballot, because every 5 years, we still have an opportunity to decide who will serve us, whether it's at the county level, at the national level. So again, we are engaged as citizens. And that is not to mean that people working in government should also not explore other opportunities, and that has always happened. So you also need to engage these public institutions, and where maybe they are not doing what ought to be done, we bring this to the fore. So there are quite a number of opportunities of engaging the citizens. Yeah.
You mentioned something about us as a country offering leadership training to a lot of institutions in the country. You mentioned something about the Code of Conduct and the Mwongozo, which you came up with to help these public institutions. But we see scandals still persist in these institutions. And then the question now would be, why does moral failure still remain so much entrenched in these public institutions and public service?
One, as I said earlier, yes, we have a challenge as a nation. We have made significant milestones as a nation. We still have some grounds to cover. And part of the things that I think we need to address is right at the lowest level, including the way we parent our children. And fortunately, some of our children are parented by corrupt parents, and therefore the only thing they also run is corruption. And right from the ground, they know corruption is the way to go. Some of those children are in institutions where teachers are not taking lessons seriously. During the class time is when the teacher is selling his or her bananas in the village. And therefore, as a child, I learned to know this is okay. I can run away from job and do ABCD. So even as we look at, we continue with the capacity building for those already in service, but it's also important to invest in the morals of our children as parents, the way we raise them. because you've talked of corruption, and I'll tell you, corruption is like termites. They start eating the tree. In my home, I have some trees there. I noted the other day a very huge tree just started drying by itself. Termites had gotten inside the tree, eaten the roots, eaten the bark and everything. So within no time, you still see the tree start drying up. So when you have these unethical behaviors in a society, it doesn't matter how long it may take, but it's just a matter of time, just like that tree, to be brought down by those tiny things called termites. And therefore the need to arrest the termites, which is the unethical behaviors, before they bring down our country. Because without good morals, without ethical leadership, without ethical culture, we actually don't have a country. It's just a matter of time before this country collapses. And therefore, it's everybody's sales duty. Every one of us has a responsibility. Whatever you are doing, whether you are Mama Boga, whatever you are doing, just ensure you uphold these values, because they are good for you, they are good for your children, they are good for the sustainability of this nation.
Now that you're saying that this depends more on the upbringing of a child, and looking at the younger generation who are, without a doubt, interested in matters politics, matters public service, do you see hope in change, that regardless of what the precedents that has already been set for them, the corruption, you see kitu kidogo, bribery, all those ills that we're seeing in the country, do you see hope that the generation that is coming after these leaders would uphold ethical leadership?
You know, in life, if you don't have hope, you are done. So hope is what keeps us going, is what keeps us look forward to tomorrow. So I have a lot of hope. And as the Institute of Certified Secretaries, we have invested a lot in the young people. There is one of the programs that we are currently running called the Governance, Ethics, Mentorship and Internship Program, GEMIP. And what we have been doing is every year we take on board 100 young people. We take them through a program of mentorship. We mentor them around issues of governance and ethics. And where possible, you also get internship opportunities for them. And again, bring them together in efforts of discussing, is it actually possible to make it without being corrupt? As if I'm an ethical leader, ethical professional, can I make it? And the answer is yes. Because unfortunately, part of the narratives, you know, sometimes when you talk about something too much, it is reinforced somehow. We've talked about corruption so much that somehow now people believe it's impossible not to be corrupt in this nation. We don't take time to highlight the good sides, institutions who are doing very well. For example, just giving an example, there is an institution called Business Registration Service, BRS, who are our good partners. A few years ago, that institution, if you wanted to register a company, they used to be located at that time at AG's office. You'd see there queues and lines. It would take you several months before you manage to do it. Today, there is total transformation of that institution. They have digitized, and therefore the process is flawless. While they still have their own challenges, but that is an example of what leadership can do when there is good leadership. Yes, when you see some of those institutions moving that way, then they give us hope that it is possible, one by one, to transform public sector institutions. It may take time, but it is actually possible, and it's happening.
Yeah. All right. Our conversation this morning is about leadership and integrity in public service, and the Constitution, without a doubt, Chapter 6 is clear on integrity. Leadership is about trust, honesty, and accountability to the people. But are we treating it as just a living standard, or are we living up to that, the Constitution, Chapter 6?
I think that question is not a very easy question. It's not easy because it's also a personal question. Yes, as a nation, we still, I can't say we have fully embraced it. However, at individual level, each one of us needs to ask themselves that question, because it's also a personal reflection question. As a leader in your area of sphere, what are you doing? The media, we also need to bring these issues. We need to highlight them in our institutions of learning. We need to bring back those discussions about ethics, those discussions about morality, those discussions about values. They need to be emphasized. In our families, we need to emphasize them. Again, the same good old book I referred to earlier, it says that write these things in the walls, so that when you start, you see them. Write them on the doorsteps, write them even on your forehead, so that the person you meet across can read them on your forehead. I think we need to, the point is, we need to talk about them every now and then. I think the message have been more on the negative. There is a lot of negativity. What we hear more is corruption. And most of us who talk about corruption, if you tell them even to define what is corruption, they have no idea what it is. But because it seems to be the buzzword, corruption, 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 to the extent now it is reinforced in our, even in the children's mind. So what we need to tell them, and we need to broadcast this loudly, is those values which are important for this society. And when every one of us plays their rightful role in religious institutions, also they need to do the same. In fact, one of the, this June I wrote 3 books, I mentioned 2. The last one I wrote this June is called Leadership and Governance, Church Leadership and Governance. And again, for that, what we are trying to argue is that actually even as a church institution, we need to have proper leadership and governance structures and policies. Now, when everybody of us do their right, what is expected of them, then that's how you transform a society. However, having said so, I think I need to reiterate the role of leadership. Leadership is very key in this discussion. And as we are registering for as voters, and I want to call upon the young people who have been very vocal on some of these issues, which is very good. But also, don't just talk. Go and take a voter's card, because whatever you are saying without a voter's card is just noise. You need to take a voter's card and determine right from your constituency level, your member of county assembly, you need to determine who is that person who go to represent you in the county assembly, who is your governor. If you don't play your rightful role as a responsible citizen, then we will just sit here, keep complaining until cows come back home and there will be no change. But if each one of us play their rightful role, then we can transform this nation, and it's possible. All
right. At the Institute of Certified Secretaries, do you discipline these leaders or institutions who are not living up to the principles of good governance?
Yes, the Institute of Certified Secretaries, as I mentioned earlier, is a membership organization. Our members are called certified secretaries. And they are engaged in institutions as company secretaries, as board secretaries. In state corporations, they are called corporation secretaries. They are also called trust secretaries, council secretaries, depending on the institutions they serve. Now, these certified secretaries, just like pilots, you don't just come from anywhere and just start piloting an airplane. You have to go through rigorous training. So they go through very rigorous training, and then they are registered as members. Now, once they are registered as members, that's when the institute has a role over them, because we are expected to regulate them. We are expected to regulate their conduct. And therefore, those who are engaged as professional company secretaries, if for any reason you have engaged a company secretary And because their principal role is to advise you, is to support you on matters, governance and compliance. If it's a private institution like this, your company sector is the one who should be guiding you in terms of your board operations, the board of directors, in terms of compliance with laws and regulations, in terms of ethical standards. Now, if they don't play their rightful role, then what is expected of you as an institution is write to the Institute of Certified Secretaries, and we will take disciplinary measures against them, and we have done so in the past. So we hold our members accountable. We don't have a mandate of holding people who are outside our membership accountable. There are other institutions in the public sector who are responsible for that. But those who are company sectors, yes, we do hold them accountable. Yes.
How does discipline look like?
Under the CPSK Act, we have a disciplinary committee. So what normally happens is that if you had engaged a company secretary to offer services to you, and they did not offer the services as agreed, or you have any complaint of whatever nature against the company secretary, then you write to the institute, and once the council looks at the matter, it refers the matter to the disciplinary committee, which is an independent tribunal under the Act. The tribunal will be able to look at the issue, and if the member is culpable, then will be held accountable. That includes the registration of a member, the gazettement of a member, and so many other. It could also be a caution. It could also be maybe they are required to undertake certain measures. So there are various disciplinary measures under the Act, which the committee can recommend.
All right. Thank you so much, FCS CEO, Institute of Certified Secretaries, for making time for us this morning. That is FCS Jeremiah Karanja, CEO, Institute of Certified Secretaries, speaking to us about leadership and integrity in public service. We do appreciate you for making time. Once again, happy Customer Service Week.
Thank you.
We hope that you do have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. That brings us to the end of this particular segment. Don't go too far. Good morning. My name is Anne Odida. You're watching Morning Cafe.